My name is Ethan, and I was 22 years old. My father, Robert Sr., was gravely ill with severe diarrhea. A local medic advised us to rush him to the city hospital about 15 miles away. The only route was by boat through the deep river and bayou system. We set off around noon, but by the time we reached the city, it was evening. My father passed away at 9 p.m. I started back home with the body. As I guided the boat from the big river into the narrow canal, the boat suddenly stopped, stuck in the mud. It was low tide. The next high tide wouldn't come until midnight. The moon was dim, and we were stranded in a completely isolated, silent place. To the left was an abandoned cemetery, and to the right, a thick jungle dominated by a giant, monstrous cypress tree filled with bats. The silence was terrifying. I sat beside my father's body, covered by a blanket, reciting the Lord's Prayer and Bible verses, trying to fend off the growing fear. Around 10 p.m., a shadowy figure emerged from behind the cypress tree and approached my boat. He asked, "Are you heading that way?" He wore a dark, heavy coat, his face mostly hidden. I confirmed I was going that way and told him I'd leave when the tide came. He got into the boat and sat next to my father's body, staring intently at the covered corpse, but asking no questions. His presence, strangely, eased my fear slightly. At midnight, the tide returned, and I began paddling. The strange man remained silent. As we moved, a terrible, rotting stench grew stronger. Soon, a mass of water hyacinths, logs, and a bloated, dead cow blocked our path. I had to get into the water to clear the debris. When I came back to the boat 2 minutes later, what I saw made my heart stop. The man was sitting next to my father's body, eating him. In a surge of adrenaline, I grabbed a paddle and struck the man repeatedly on the head. When he turned toward me, I hit him hard again in the throat. He let out a shriek and fell into the water. I paddled furiously, chanting powerful verses from the Bible. A little further on, a shadowy entity, nearly 20 feet tall, appeared. Petrified, I asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" The giant shadow pointed a long, dark finger at my father's body and demanded, "Give me that corpse, or I will die." I shouted back, "I will not give up my father's body as long as I live." I started chanting even louder, and by the grace of God, the entity vanished temporarily. I rode non-stop, sweat pouring down my body despite the cold. Just as I neared my village, still a minute away, I looked down and saw my father's body being pulled toward the water. There was no one else in the boat. I screamed and struck the water violently with the paddle. By the pale moonlight, I glimpsed a hairy, blood-soaked hand pulling the body. My screams attracted some villagers who were fishing nearby with flashlights. They rushed over. They saw the blood marks on my father's chest. They understood everything and took me to their house. My father was buried the next day. The ordeal should have ended there, but 10 days later, a new horror began. I started staring blankly at the river all day and verbally abusing anyone who passed by. My mother, Martha, told my uncles, Frank and Jimmy, about my strange behavior. When my uncles approached me, I hit Uncle Frank so hard he passed out. Uncle Jimmy called for help. That night, Uncle Jimmy brought a local Hoodoo Man, faith healer, from a nearby village. The Hoodoo Man examined me and exclaimed, "My God, this boy is possessed by a powerful swamp demon, stronger than me." He gave them 2 charms and took $500 as payment before leaving. 20 minutes later, I awoke to find my hands and feet tied to the bed. I had been unconscious when the Hoodoo Man visited. Seeing my mother and uncles, I looked at my mother and sneered, "Why did you bring that charlatan? Did you think he could save your son?" This terrified my uncles, who immediately left the room. They sought help from Father Michael, a respected spiritualist 2 villages away. Father Michael listened patiently and said he would come the next morning. Before they left, he instructed them to gather 2 bottles of olive oil, dried chili powder, garlic, candles, and incense. Father Michael arrived that evening. He instructed Uncle Jimmy to draw a circle on the floor and place a sacred cloth inside. I was made to sit on the cloth, and he asked everyone to stand far away. He lit incense around the circle and placed a candle on a brick. Sitting inside the circle, I taunted him, "Why are you doing this? Did you think this would work?" We argued for some time. Father Michael mixed chili powder and olive oil in a bowl, keeping some oil aside. He gave my mother the garlic, asking her to crush it. After chanting and blowing into the oil mixture, he applied the oil and garlic paste to my forehead, holding my head as he read sacred texts. He then took a dried chili pepper, dipped it in the oil, and held the strong scent near my nose. He commanded, "Now tell the truth. How did you come and why?" The spirit inside me was forced to speak. "I have possessed him to take revenge for the killing of my son." Father Michael responded, "I don't know what happened that night, but even if this boy made a mistake, you must forgive him. Leave now, or I will imprison you." Finally, the entity agreed to leave, but only on 2 conditions. 2 rams and 2 goats must be left by the canal. Father Michael argued they were poor and couldn't afford that. After much negotiation, the spirit agreed to settle for 1 ram. The next evening, my uncles placed the ram beneath the cypress tree near the canal. That night remains the most terrifying night of my life.